Boniface Mwangi, photo activist, welcome to the JSO interview.
Thank you, John.
To paraphrase some comments when I said that you were going to be our guest, I had a great deal of respect for Boniface Mwangi as the man responsible for the Kenya burning exhibition in the wake of the post-election violence. I had a great deal of respect for Boniface Mwangi when I learnt that he was the CNN African Journalist of the Year, not just once, but in the years 2008 and 2010. I had a great deal of respect for Boniface Mwangi when in January this year, we learnt that he'd won the Prince Claus Award, a distinction from the Dutch government for his pioneering efforts in drawing attention to the post-election violence. But when I recognized him as the person being beaten up at the Labor Day rally, I said, this man is just a heckler looking for self-publicity and he's not serious. Comment.
It's the same, Boniface. Nothing has changed. It's because we spoke about healing this country, and that is why I did the traveling exhibition. We did the Kenya burning, and which was very successful. But we have to move on to the next level where we have to fight corruption and fight leaders who are promoting impunity.
So let me stop you there. I think the person who had less respect for you was suggesting that we didn't see you in a group of people. We saw one individual making a stand. If your viewpoint is to be shared by many, why weren't there more of you?
So, for the record, I wasn't alone. We were many of us, about 20 of us, but they were afraid to stand up. So if you look at the clip very well, I stood up and I was looking around where the rest were because they didn't stand up. But it's the same person. I think there's a way that society treats you when you become successful. That there's a way you're supposed to talk, they're supposed to behave. And then if you go to that box, they start placing you and giving you tags. I think everyone who was in that ground that particular day should have stood up with me, but they didn't. Because the right thing to do when you have leaders who have been paid so much money and then they still want more from you. So I thought, why can't I stand up and encourage other people to do the same thing with me? And that they didn't stand up. So I was
but then shouldn't there have been a measure of planning? I mean, if I'm just sitting there and I'm all decked out in my finery, I've gone to a rally after all, and I hear there's been a speech here. When I see somebody standing up to complain, should I immediately do the same thing in a sort of herd mentality? I find that strange as a code of conduct.
There were about 20 of us.
Right, but
if all of them made noise at the same time,
but you expected so many thousand people to do the same.
I thought because we tried mobilizing through social media, and there's a lot of comments, I'm coming, but they didn't show up. There's not a single person from the social media who said he's going to come, who showed up. But on the other hand, the 20 people that you are with, if they all stood up at the same time that I stood up and made as much noise as I did, then there's a possibility I totally could have listened and the goons wouldn't have been successful.
But then let's go back, please, if we may.
Yes.
When you stood up, were you choosing the right target? You were choosing a gentleman who had given support to the increase in salaries, as in the Secretary General of the trade union. But he himself wasn't responsible. He just stood up. So saying, please give Boniface some more money, and then when I stand up to speak, you shout me down. Right target?
No, based on his position, it's a right target. He's supposed to be fighting the poor workers' rights because every poor worker, the watchman, the house girl, they pay money to court to stand for their rights. So there's a way that it represents all of us as workers in this country. Most of us belong to federations. And the other thing is that was like an organized audience for our message. It was like a warm-up for Occupy Parliament. We told guys, let's go first, warm up with the trolley, tell him off, then you can do the other event.
Right. So let's go back to this image of you as some sort of deranged heckler, not quite with it individual. I mean, how do you? I mean, people they find this. Is it against our traditions to do what you're doing?
I think it's against the way we're brought up, because when you're growing up, you're not supposed to speak up. So you suffer in silence. Kenyans are very passive in nature. Something happens that is wrong, they don't speak up. So when you become that person who speaks up, they think that you're a heckler. They're trying to identify and give you a tag because it's not the norm, because the norm is passivity. The norm is silence. The norm is just trying to fit in without breaking out from the herd. So when you break out and you're the new thing and you're trying to do something that no one else does, they start giving you tags. I think people are not comfortable with the situation in this country, but they're afraid to speak out. And so when you do, they don't know where to place you. So they're looking at, I was successful, I was a photographer, I was making it. Why am I doing this?
Right. Now, when you won the Prince Claus Award, for example, you were described by one of the speakers introducing you as a latter-day Wangari Maathai. In fact, somebody gave you the label of being the Wangari Maathai of your generation. Does this label then spur you to behave the way you do? They've called me the Messiah, I might as well behave like one.
I was highly flattered. I think we can't compare the two. She's great. I don't think I'm there yet. But on the other hand...
But you want to go there?
Wangari Maathai is her own person. But I think on the other hand, if the people who know me in private life, they know me as me. The girl speaks up, as that has been me for as long as you can remember, that I normally do that. But now it's because I'm going to national stage and saying this thing that I've been saying in private. I'm actually sharing my personal thoughts and my struggles publicly, that I have a problem with corruption, I have a problem with the culture of impunity. I have a problem when I see people taking advantage of us. And so I've decided, you know what, I can't be saying this in small circles. I think I need to say it beyond my small circles. And that's why I've gone out and said, you know what, we need to be able to organize and do it publicly.
Now, let's comment on Kenyan society again. We have all these international heroes. We have our athletes. David Rudisha is walking down the street. Nobody bothers. He's just won a gold medal. Pamela Jelimo, you name it. Now, by winning awards like the Prince Claus Award, surely your international recognition factor would have made you in some ways untouchable. But in Kenyan society, you weren't even given a name in the great mass of the media. You were just described as an activist. In other words, you don't exist. So why are you bothering if the society thinks that you don't exist?
I don't do it for anyone else. I do it for me. So I don't care about what they call me or the tags that they give me. As I said before, they're trying to fit me into a box which they can't find yet. So until they do that, they'll call me, others call me a protester, a heckler. People say donor funded, which I'm not actually. So before they can even call me by name, my name is Boniface Mwangi, and I'm actually comfortable being called my name. Until they do that, then they'll give me all these tags, but they don't bother me.
So donor funded, you're trying to suggest that when you say you're trying to suggest that this is a complete, you and your 20 friends were acting totally independently.
Yes, and our voice is very independent. We live in a country where people are funded to do things or to protest, or where politicians pay people to go to political rallies. So they think, why would you risk your life or being beaten up for other people? Because even if you look at the way I've been caught before, I pay my own bail. No one pays for me. I pay my own bail. And so people think that because you're doing that is because you want donor money. I don't need any donor money to stand up. We have to realize, John, that the Mau Mau were not donor funded. The freedom fighters of yesterday are not donor funded. So this whole idea of that someone should fund us to fight for our own rights. I don't think even if we get a better country, we're fighting for the donors to come and live in this country. We're doing it for ourselves. And
right. Okay, let's go back to the images that we saw. You were wearing something which had the Kenya colours, a sort of black T-shirt.
Yes.
Now, I'm just asking, we won't go to the court case because obviously that's sub judice and we should leave that alone. But did your 20 colleagues also have T-shirts such as your own? So I'm trying to suggest that you had a uniform and
No.
somebody must have paid for it.
We didn't have a uniform. No, we didn't. I was the only one. People came with their home clothes.
Right.
I came with my favorite shirt, the
Right.
Kenyan shirt.
Right.
And then if you look at all my photos, even when I travel out to the country, that's my favorite shirt,
Right.
the Kenyan T-shirt.
Right. Before we go to the whole notion of activism, there is this idea of the individual. You've always had this character of being outraged, of speaking out. Within this, you tell us, you have a family,
Yes,
you have a wife,
yes,
you have children.
yes.
How many?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yes.
Now let's not get into gender sensitivity.
Yeah.
You've got this family, you're a young family, you're 29. Does everybody in your family give you blanket support? Or again, rather like, Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, are they telling you, stop, 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 but you just, kichwangumu, I'll go on anyway?
I think I'm the kichwangumu. My biggest supporter is my wife. I have given my kids different names. One of my son has a Zulu name, the other one has a Luo name, the other one has an Arabic name. So we went all Pan-African. And my family don't like what I do. They're very concerned about my life. They're very concerned that I'm going to get killed, I'm going to get hurt, and I have a young family, so they don't support me. But at the same time, I tell them, I'm not doing this for you. My wife has been trying to tell them, you need to understand Boniface, he won't stop. So leave him alone, because they're always concerned about it. They call her. But on the other hand, you have to understand, if I don't do it, I get stressed. The day I went to court, I'll tell you a story. I went to court last week, and while I was there, Patin was there, and Patin got acquitted. And I got so outraged, I chased Patin out of the courts, calling him a thief, because I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand that. And what you're trying to do is get people courage that when you go to the supermarket or when you go to a school and you find a minister was stolen, the courts may not jail him, but let him know that he's a thief. So if you actually victimize these people and condemn them for their actions and you don't celebrate them, then they're going to stop stealing. That
right.
You may steal the money,
right,
John, you may steal the money, but you're not going to enjoy the money in comfort. So if you go to a restaurant and you know that you're a thief, either you're Patini or these other big thugs, spit on their food. It's a good start.
Right, okay.
Be disgusted by them.